allergies, man. And here we are again. Thursday, the 5 o'clock p.m. slot. My show, Nostra Thomas. And tonight, I have a special guest.
Oh, real special.
Very special in my book. Former Mahoning, Youngstown Prosecutor.
Yeah, a long time ago, yeah.
Michael what is it?
A maskless
Maillis? Yeah. No, Michael Maillis. Glad to have you on the show. To give you a little background on how we became friends and to this point today.
Sure.
I had a case where I was hit from behind during work hours. Yeah. Actually, the case was Bill Clinton's bus was in town. And over there by
That's true.
That's exactly
what happened,
how it happened. And I stopped my car, and the bus, all the police officers were redirecting traffic. So you couldn't even go by there. You had to get out. So when I got hit from behind, I tried to get one of the officers to help me with the accident. He said, "Here, get in the car and get out. I don't care what." He didn't care if my car blew up, somebody shot me, what? Because at the time I got hit, my head was out the window, yelling at Bill Clinton's bus, and then I got hit from behind, and I thought, wow, this bitch Hillary is tough. It only took her 5 seconds to get at me from yelling at the bus. So that was like the joke, and then I hired your firm for my case, which I thought was worth millions. We didn't quite get that much. We won't need to get into that, but
you did think it was worth.
I did. I swear I did. But I came in the office the first time, and I remember I had a spot on the radio. So as I was waiting and fidgeting, I said, "Hold on, can I have an office and a phone? I have to make a call to a radio station." And they said, "Sure." And thus Michael Maillis came aboard, because I think it was more like, who the hell is that out there that's asking us for?
It was, I would say it was weird. It was like an immediate connection. Like, I thought you were hilarious. And you were asking me to use my phone to call the radio. And I was like, I'm not giving you my phone to call the radio. And it was, and then we just laughed about that. And then it just became a friendship after
I remember, this is the part I remember the most. Sitting at the conference table, and I'm dead serious. I got my stuff.
You were dead serious.
Here's what we should be doing. And I'm going through this big, long thing of what we should be doing as a team, as if I'm part of the attorney group here. And the one kid's like listening intently, and you were sitting there like this with a smile on your face. I go, because here's what I would do, and then here's what I would do. Because I've won one of these cases before, and I kind of know what we should be doing, gang. And I think that was the point where we hit it off.
And then you told me about Judge Judy.
Yeah, Judge Judy, which everyone told me I was going to lose.
And you won.
And my attorney, Mark Fittimore, said, "Thom, no, the funniest one was I was in Girard Court for the actual incident. And my friend at the Littell there, I said, hey, we're going to Judge Judy for this case." I had to show up again and tell him, he goes, "Thom, somehow I know that's not going to go well. I'm just he goes, I want to watch the episode though, for sure." Because being a physics major, what they were trying to tell me, and believe me, the only reason why I didn't get the ruling during the accident was a couple of the state highway patrolmen played baseball against me. And that's never a good connection, because he remembered me hitting a home run and laughing around the bases. And it was at that point where I knew they weren't going to cite the other guy. So what happened was, this car tries to go through a red light in the middle lane. He's turning left. My car's going straight. My son's driving straight. How does a car hit a car, go airborne and into the graveyard if I hit him? I draw a diagram, nobody's getting it. If this car hits him, his car goes. Everyone tells me I'm nuts. I get to Judge Judy. I wasn't there 15 minutes. Told me to shut up about 10 times. The bailiff
10?
actually turned her.
Only 10?
It was only 10 that was actually aired. I think when I yelled cut, that was when they'd had. I go, cut, come on. I kept saying the guy's lying, and finally the bailiff goes, "Will you shut up?" I go, "But he's lying." And it was over. I won just like that. I didn't have to fight with her.
I should probably.
She told me to sit down hot shot a couple
I
times.
should probably tell the story that I gave you advice for deposition and you followed absolutely zero of the rules.
Paraphrase some of it.
And there were several times during deposition where I gave you that look and you got it.
I could feel the look. I didn't see the look.
Yeah.
I was all these directions, and I start going, and I see this out of the corner of my eye, peripheral vision. Shut the heck up.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But you had that guy buried. Every time he said something, it was a little check mark for us. Then you backed him in the corner, and he had to answer. It was actually really brilliant. And I thought, wow, this guy is really good.
Well, I appreciate that.
And that is the truth.
Now let's tell him
Because with a smile, you were beating him to a pulp.
Let's tell them how we fight on Facebook, how I got in the show. So I try to antagonize your friends on Facebook. Your friends, just not you, your friends. I try to antagonize them.
It's actually hilarious because I'll write something and then I won't look at it for a while. And I know it's going to create, because that's what I'm trying to do. Create.
Yeah.
And then I look in the comments, I see Mike Maillis. And sometimes I have to be in the right frame of mind to go look at that comment. Because A, I don't want to get mad at you because I love you as a friend.
I love you too.
B, I know it's not going to be a one-on-one answer. I'm going to have to spend a lot of time with it.
And I'm baiting people too. Like, I'm only baiting
friends
people.
get involved.
Oh, man.
And now I just bail out.
They start threatening me, right? they don't know we're friends. Why would you be friends with that guy, Thom?
Jackass, and I just go, I'm going to get out for a while.
They don't understand that me and you we're playing a game.
Yeah, they just have no clue.
Yeah, no.
But I appreciate, I got to have them, and then I got to have you, because if I don't have a you, it's just a big bunch of kumbaya.
They are acolytes. Like, I've never seen it before. First of all, every time you post something, there's 20 women that tell you how handsome you are. Then all of the other comments are about, "You're right, Thom. You're the greatest, Thom. You're a genius,
Only you
Thom."
are going to say it.
Yeah.
And so I do need.
Yeah. I'm your muse. How about that?
In the old days, I would have some of these people that just would jump up. Look, my family just won $1 billion, no like. My son just broke the national record, no likes. But boy, they'll hop on there when they want to fight with me.
Isn't it true? Haven't you found that although people pretend like the thing they like worst about the Facebook is the fighting, that's the only thing they comment on? Like, if you say something
You're right.
nice,
You
like,
can just stay away from it.
I love flowers, and I'll post a picture of my flowers, and I'll get 10 likes. My wife and I plant flowers. We love flowers. If I say something controversial, it'd be 100 fights in the thread. It's everyone pretends like they don't.
Some of your threads too.
Yeah.
Oh,
my friends hate you. My friends hate you.
What's that one guy, man? We were going. I kept using it. I forget. I peeled back because I know that. A couple of your friends. Who was the one
and
guy?
And they are all my friends.
Who was the one guy?
Well, let's just say that if it's a guy's name, you'll make sure that you call them by a female name.
That's it.
Yeah.
Or when I can't tell what their profile says they do for a living, I revert right to table 5 needs a glass of water. Why don't you get off the thread and get that?
But people don't know that we're friends, and this is just part of our joking with each other.
Right now, I've got a car salesman guy I'm fighting with on LinkedIn. Every time I'm done with the sentence, there's 2 people looking at that 1997 Toyota. Get out in the lot.
You and I have a lot of fun.
It's fun, man. Actually, there's a couple nights that I laugh so hard just from us doing a show on the phone.
Yeah.
What it would become if we were allowed, if you were allowed, because it would become that. And I wake up and start laughing again.
Me too.
And that doesn't happen a lot. It's that funny.
The last time you and I had a conversation, which was probably Friday when my friend was over.
Yeah, that's right.
He sent me private messages saying that was one of the funniest nights of my entire life.
It was. I was so irritated it was over.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you're on the phone with a friend Anyways, they keep going. Pretty soon you pretend like the phone cut off. I know. What? These are the calls that I tell my wife to shh when I'm trying to catch it all in. You know, she'll be asking me questions during the call. I can't. I got to get it all in. I got to understand what he's saying.
And we don't agree on politics often.
You know what?
Certain issues.
I don't think that's true. Let's just talk about let's talk about gun control.
Sure.
Because here's the thing. There's this right and left, but there are certain major issues in both parties, both sides. There's major issues. The gun control is a huge issue.
Huge.
It should be a huge issue to everybody.
Yeah.
So we have another mass shooting.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Do we know what kind of gun that was?
No,
yet?
we actually don't know yet.
Why?
Well, it's interesting because I was watching the coverage yesterday. I was actually watching a local California show, and they were talking about people buying guns on the internet without background check, which is impossible. I don't know.
How does that happen?
It doesn't. It doesn't. I will tell you without exception, there is no way to buy a gun in America unless you go through a background check. That's it. The only exception in Ohio, which is not an exception in Pennsylvania, by the way, is if you have a gun and you want to sell me your gun that you owned, you can sell me your gun without us going through a background check. But that's not the law in Pennsylvania, and it's not the law in a lot of states in the United States. So even at a gun show, I know nobody believes this, but the gun show loophole does not exist. If you buy a gun at a gun show, they do a background check. And in Ohio, you are not allowed to do a private sale in any establishment that has an FFL licensed person. So if you and I are at a gun show together and you want to sell me your gun inside of the gun show, that's actually not permitted, because if there's an FFL in the building, you're not allowed to have a private sale. So never at a gun show have I bought a gun without an absolute background check. And to tell you, Thom, I own a lot of guns. I collect revolvers. I collect guns. I have never been able to purchase a gun without going through a background check, and I go through it every single time. So even if you buy 10 guns a year, you go through 10 background checks. So when it comes to gun control, I would say if you could really show me a law that would stop people from shooting each other, I would be more than happy to get behind it, stand behind it, and bring that law forward. But there isn't any. There just isn't any.
So you're saying at my gun shows,
Yes.
where I see people hauling guns out, how are they getting it so quick if the gun, they're doing the check right then and there like that?
Absolutely. Your average gun check, like if I go to a gun store, the average gun background check will take 10 minutes. Absolutely 10 minutes.
So the guy at my tables that complain about $50 tables have a way to do a check while you're there?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
I didn't know that.
every gun show has FFL licensed gun sellers, and they're there, okay? So now, mind you, if I'm carrying a gun on my back to a gun show, and you say I want to buy that gun, you and I can go outside and do a private exchange, because in Ohio, that's still legal. So if I want to sell my gun collection, I can't be a dealer, so let me give you the difference. If I build an AR-15, and my intention when I build it is to sell it to you, I cannot do that. That would be illegal because I have to be an FFL. But if I build a gun for myself or buy a gun for myself, and it is my gun, and then down the road I decide to sell it to a friend of mine or to a cousin or to a stranger, I can sell that gun legally in the United States to a person without a background check. But that is the only way that can happen, and that's only in certain states. You can't do that in Pennsylvania. Even private sale between two individuals who own the guns has to go through an FFL. And if I buy a gun in Pennsylvania gun shop, a handgun, it has to be shipped to an Ohio gun FFL, and then I have to do a separate background check in Ohio to get that gun. So I just can't go buy a gun in Pennsylvania and bring it to Ohio. Anybody tells you can do that is lying to you.
Okay, so here's my comment after listening to that.
Sure.
If we put any more law, here's how let's say somebody's dad owns a gun. The kid goes to school, has a shooting. The dad obviously had the gun legally.
Yeah.
The only people that are going to be able to get guns if we keep going are the criminals. They're not going to the gun show to get their guns.
Right, because
We're going to be the ones without the gun.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, a criminal cannot buy a gun at a gun show. That is another one of those.
That is true.
It's another one of those misstatements. And when I was listening to the California people, they were talking about internet gun sales, because I can go on the internet and order a gun. But what they don't know is that gun has to be shipped to a federal firearm licensee in Ohio.
And then you go.
And I have to go do the paperwork and get approved by the FBI before they will give me that gun. So there's no way to ship guns over the internet without doing a background check. All of that is false. And the problem is a lot of the politicians, they don't understand the gun laws.
No,
so
they don't.
No.
They don't understand anything.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Because here's what's happening. With the police issues, all these cities that are defunding police, whatever, the crime rates is going higher and higher. Now, if you take the guns away from the honest citizens, that's more of an incentive to become a criminal. Because now you have the police on their heels. Now you have the homeowners and the store owners on. I mean, then what? We just run rampant. It's the old wild, wild west.
Yeah, and I could tell you statistically, there are statistics that say when states like Ohio went with carrying concealed weapon licenses, crime rates went down. Because when the criminals don't know if you're carrying, okay? And by the way, even Howard Stern, okay? Everyone would think Howard Stern's a pretty liberal guy. Howard Stern said something one day that I thought was very profound. He said, what is a woman going to do if 3 men decide that they're going to grab a woman from her car and they're going to take her? What can she possibly do to defend herself against those people if she's not armed? What can she do?
Nothing.
Nothing. You're just going to be a victim.
So it's almost as stupid as it sounds. We could, like, no gun zones and things like. How about we just start putting up no murder zones? I wonder if that would work. We just put up the sign that says no murders in this area.
Yeah, because we all know that criminals always follow
Because so
laws.
far, none of that has worked, and adding more isn't going to work.
No, and again, I want to go back to saying, if I really thought there was a single law that we could pass that would stop mass shootings,
true.
Who wouldn't be in that line?
Yeah.
Who would not be in that line?
What I really don't understand is during all this, why... we have to go through scanners at the airport. We have to go through scanners when you go to a court or.
Yeah.
Why are there no scanners at schools? There's a place where there should be walk through with a scanner.
Yeah, and you know what? I think there are. I think there are at some schools today.
Wouldn't that be the place that you put one for sure?
Absolutely. You know, and then you lock all the doors so nobody can get in.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's a very lax. In other places that you get, I think you could actually live, is a hospital. You get in the hospital, roam around, sleep. There's nobody ever around. It's like you just wander through the hospital.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, where I live, you can't get in the school unless you hit a buzzer, and then they ask you who you are, and you say your name. I'll say, Mr. Maillis, and they'll say, do you have a child at the school? Yes. Who are your children at the school? And then they buzz you in.
I think a lot of them have
Can't
that.
get in the front door.
My issue is, why don't the students just walk through on the way in? Very simple. Metal detector. Find out if some kid's going to come in and do something nutty. I just don't. Out of all the places, I think that would be the place to have.
I agree with you.
I think they don't want to make it into some kind of scaring the kids or whatever. I don't know, but I'd sure feel a lot safer that the kid I picked on in the 2nd grade's not coming in through here in 10th grade ready to shoot a bunch of people that were bullying him or something. Not that I ever bullied anybody.
Of course not.
Of course not. I want to bring this up too. I want to bring up this capital insurrection thing that just never seems to go away. First of all, when I ran major events, venues, and there's so many people, I had security people keep them from the stage, from the area where there might be a VIP, or from getting too close and then it becomes a mob scene. Here are supposedly the best there is at security, and they let a mob scene get right next to the door.
And on some
Does
of
that
the,
not draw a flag to you?
on some of the videos, they actually move the barriers.
That's what I mean. So if you think I believe that wasn't something they hoped would happen, you're sadly mistaken. Because at that point, up to that point, there had been no real Trump, any violence, anything. There was always some people maybe against them or what they stood for. But I think at this point, a few planted people in the right spot, you have now a mob scene. And I've been part of that. I've been in concerts. I've been at the Rib Fest where there were so many people that if something would go bad, and you've seen it happen.
Absolutely.
If you watch like a big bar fight, everybody starts fighting.
Soccer game.
See,
Right?
everybody goes crazy.
Yeah.
And it's not just the lunatics. The people get caught up in this, what is it called? It's some kind of...
Well, there's actually, I think they've actually done studies where they said that people would do things in mobs and groups that they would never do by themselves. So it's sort of like a mob mentality. You all, very decent people who would never, ever, ever storm the Capitol, for instance.
Right.
When they get in groups and they all have a common cause and they're all getting it riled up, they will do things. And then later on, probably go home and go, did I really do that? Did I really do what I did?
Like when a team wins a Super Bowl, if you look out there, a lot of those people just look like normal fans, and they're turning cars over and acting like crazy nuts. I mean, unfortunately, I remember going to a Steeler game and not a Steeler fan.
Thank God.
Not a Steeler fan at all. But by the time you get into that whole mentality and that crazy, you start to just become part of the craziness. Like it's a kind of phenomenal. So I don't believe everybody in this thing is innocent, but here's my problem. 400 people, and do you know what they're doing now? They're actually running checks on everybody that was in Washington, D.C. So if you had your phone and you were in Washington, D.C. anywhere, they're looking at you to see if you were part of this.
Wow.
That's how in-depth this is getting. Now,
it's like the McCarthy hearings.
Now, we had the Capitol underground bombed the Capitol. There was no commission. There's now this big commission for one lady that got shot with unarmed and a cop that we don't know who it is. We're having this commission. Yeah. So, why do you think this is going on? Keeps going on and on. This crazy notion that there's, this mob crazy Trump supporters, because basically what they're saying is half the country are nut extremists. That's what they're saying.
That's what they're trying to imply. Yeah, right. Sure, absolutely.
So half the country are these nutty extremists, but when we actually had extremists like Muslim extremists, we weren't allowed to call them extremists. They were actually extremists, but we weren't allowed to call them that. But now I'm an extremist because I happen to think Trump was a great president. So you're an extremist and you need some kind of brainwash, rewind.
You need to be deprogrammed.
Yeah. Deprogrammed from, I don't know, just liking the country, wanting trade deals to go our way. Crazy, crazy stuff like that. But this is just really concerning that nobody was armed at this thing.
Yeah. I would say that...
But in Portland, they're crazy armed and they're destroying property, but there's no commission for that.
Taking over streets.
Yeah, taking over the entire streets and municipal buildings.
Listen, as a lawyer, I would tell you that I support all protests. I mean, and I would say if you went back to the framers of the Constitution, they would even say that the people had the right to overthrow their government when they thought the government no longer served their interests. So it's an interesting question whenever you have to compare something, and I'm not trying to say that the insurrection was a bunch of people. It doesn't matter whether it's on the left or whether it's on the right. At some point, if you think your government is no longer answering your interests, protest is the way to address those situations.
Right.
But it's just interesting to me that, and I even said, if I was President Biden, I would have pardoned all of them. And I know that seems strange, but I would have pardoned all of them. And I would have said, look, you were wrong. You were wrong for what you did. You made a mistake. You believed a lie. In my opinion, what was a lie. But I don't want you in prison. All right, I don't want you in prison. And I probably would have pardoned them. And because I think that would have been an act of let's bring the country back together on both sides of it, and just said, instead of sending all these people to prison for 13 years and 15 years.
Well, they're all detained with no trial right now. No privilege, lawyer privilege, nothing. It's they're not sure what it is.
Yeah.
It's because of its timing and COVID and whatever else they're calling it. They've just put away when they go to meet with their client. It's in front of everybody.
Yeah, you told me that, and I hadn't heard that. And obviously,
they have no privilege, nothing. So they can't even sit there with their client. It's all being taped. Everything they're saying.
Yeah, that's there's no way that you could possibly prepare for a defense if you can't talk in private.
So and then do you see what's happening now? Now, if you remember back, how many months ago when you start talking about this virus being in a Wuhan lab, you were kicked off of Facebook, stupid, crazy, nutty. But now all of a sudden the information's coming out that in fact is where Fauci actually started it, then kicked it out to China, and some people got sick when they first tried to. And what they've done is they've gone and tried to do tests of trying to give an animal COVID. It hasn't happened. So that whole lie that bats started it it can't prove that it's capable at all from an animal to pass the COVID to a human.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I agree with you that originally, they were saying that it came naturally. And I would say that I think there's 3 health organizations that have looked at this. 2 of the health organizations say they believe it occurred naturally. One of the health organizations says that it was probably an escape from a lab. Okay. I'm not really on board that Dr. Fauci had anything to do with it. I know you believe that. I don't.
It's already been proven yet.
I'm not sure. It's met my level of proof.
All right.
Okay.
He was there when it happened.
But it certainly is a disease, and even I will admit that even though I'm probably not on the same side as you when it comes to Dr. Fauci, that this disease has evolved several times, and it always seems to evolve to its advantage, which is a very strange way for a virus to act. Usually as time goes on, a virus adapts in a way that it propagates more but becomes less deadly. And this one always seems to evolve to its benefit, which is strange.
Yeah.
So could it have had could they be experimenting with viruses? Of course they could. And then could they be trying to make them stronger and then making vaccines for them? Sure. And it does seem like it's very possible. And even Rand Paul, and I'm not a big fan of Rand Paul, but he said that they have not found the animal that this allegedly has come from.
Yeah, that's
yeah, that they've done the research and they have not been able to trace it down to an animal. So I don't think we know the whole story yet, as far as where it came from. But hopefully we will.
And you wonder why people don't trust anything.
Well, I agree.
Do you remember what was that bombing? A bunch of people got shot at a stadium. Remember that?
Were you in the baseball game?
Yeah,
the baseball game. Yeah.
Okay, a bunch of people got shot.
Yeah. And I believe in that one.
No commission for that.
It was a left-wing guy.
Yeah, it was a left-wing guy, but he was with Bernie Sanders, and nobody linked Bernie Sanders to it.
I agree.
But Trump's linked to everybody that wore a hat. It's because Trump told him to do it. But when Bernie Sanders supporter, nobody said anything about Bernie Sanders. It's just 2 different rules. Look, if you had rules for everybody, go ahead and give it. But one set doesn't. And the other set has these crazy amount of rules.
Even I will agree there seems to be 2 sets of rules.
It is. And it's hard to get the people together, united. I keep hearing that. But how are you going to get united when there's this big wall between you that it feels like it's one-sided?
What you just said is very interesting to me because I say all the time that, like, on Facebook, right? You and I would seem like we were enemies, and people would read the posts, and we'd be fighting with each other, and they would think it was a real fight.
Right.
And then we sit down across from each other, and we have a reasonable conversation. So I almost think that the reason we're in the corners is because, I don't know, like something's missing when you're on Facebook that you get in a personal conversation. You and I sitting away from each other may not agree on politics, but we'll have a reasonable conversation. Neither one of us gets mad at each other, right? And it could be like a very long conversation. We could be on completely different sides. But for some reason on Facebook, everything turns to name calling and it just pushes us in our corners.
You know why?
And I think it's just made things worse.
You know why? It's the same thing as texting. My tone of text It's not the tone that you think it or might not think. I'm saying something and somebody's getting it like, I need that done today. I'm not saying it like that. So communication is it's body language, it's facial expressions. Those are how you have a conversation. And here's what happens. You get in a fight on Facebook, I start looking at their profile. Look at this idiot.
See how many selfies
you got. And now my next comment is, okay there, selfie king.
Car selfies. Listen, I'm just going to tell let me give you a piece of advice. Men over 40 should never take a car selfie. I don't care how good looking you think you are. If you're in your car and you post a selfie, you post it on Facebook, everyone is looking at that picture going, that's
an idiot.
That's pretty weird. Let your wife take the picture of you and post that. That's all. That's all.
That is so true.
Am I wrong? Like
I can tell you that when somebody says something when you change your profile picture or something, that's why I haven't done it for a long time. Because when you do, that picture goes on your wall.
Yes.
And now here comes a bunch of comments you really would rather not come on there.
Sure. Well, for you,
somebody says something you don't want.
Not me.
So I'm really careful about it. But when I do see a friend of mine, guy, I just write, bro, come on. Like, wait, here's my favorite one. I'm in the gym.
Let's make rules.
Getting my gym damn done. Nobody cares about your gym. Nobody. Your wife, maybe. Your kids. But I don't look on here and say, wow, look at my friend Joe. Really getting it done today in the gym. Yay for you. What's the purpose of putting that on there?
Do you think that Facebook for all of us, and even you and I, is a little bit about narcissism? Like that you think you're so important that the world cares what you're doing? It has to be partly that, right? It has to be.
I'm not going to lie. I think it is.
Yeah.
In some form that it is.
Yeah, it's a little bit of look how interesting I am.
Yeah, look what I'm doing today.
Look how much better my life is than yours.
Look at me on the beach while you're sitting in a snowbank.
Exactly. Look at my beautiful kids. Look at my beautiful wife. You know.
Look how good my son's doing, and you're dropped out of school.
Yeah.
No.
That's why I've been trying to post flower pictures because I feel like it's not controversial.
But you know what? That's true. What about now that we're on this?
Wait,
here. I don't care.
What about the people at the grocery store who go Facebook Live as if the world needs to see them buy their groceries?
Now that you brought this up, it's one that here is my new big, gorgeous house. Here's my new pool area with my new. Now,
I'm guilty of that with my deck, though.
I'm not. It's not. Look, I'll take a shot on the back deck of my pool and say something, but hey, look at this. But hey, we put in our new front marble porch thing. Now, here's what you get. Either the people that can't afford that and they're going, goody gumdrops, I got a new hose this summer for my big. So what is your purpose of... You're right. It most always seems to be...
It seems to go back to a little bit of narcissism, sure. Because honestly, who would really care what you're doing, right? Who in the world, and I mean me, you, anybody, who really cares what we're doing, right? When I'm in Florida, do you care? Does that make you feel any better?
I would
Does
actually...
it make you feel better that I'm sitting on a beach?
No.
No, exactly. It makes you feel worse, actually.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. You put that on there just for... You know, the shots I like a Singer Island, I put only because nobody knows where that's at.
No, I don't know.
And I like... Because there's nobody there. It's so secluded. Like, it's not a place where you go to have a big old roaring time. So I just kind of show, look, if you're ever thinking of going somewhere, forget Fort Lauderdale. You couldn't walk 2 inches without running and stepping on somebody's head. Singer Island is kind of like Key Largo. It's not all built up, and the beaches are pretty empty. So, I mean, that's what I think a vacation is.
Yeah, I agree.
And when this virus thing, if it ever ends, because they just keep moving the goalpost back out of the goal line, we can almost see it, and it seems to never end. They can really keep the spacing. I really like that.
Yeah, let's make it 12 feet.
Yeah, I'd love to keep it like 20 feet.
Nobody get with 20 feet.
Get away from me. especially like a restaurant.
Oh,
Don't you
sure.
like that better now?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Because that was always the thing, looking for a booth that's out of the way.
One of the funniest things at the restaurant is I'd be in a restaurant, they'd have a big plastic screen to my right,
Yeah.
and I would go, "Oh no, honey, don't worry, the coronavirus can't get around plastic."
Oh, no, it can't. It can't.
Like that was gonna save you.
It has to. It climbs so hard it slips and falls. It can't get.
How do I get around this plastic? It's just to
I
make
just don't understand how you have a mask on outside. Some vapor might come by, but you take your mask off at the restaurant 5 inches from the table, and the virus can't seem to find its way to that person right over there.
And I know you didn't get your shots. I got mine.
I am not getting a shot. But you know what?
I got mine.
Hey, did you know that it's a choice?
It is a choice.
Unless you're trying to go back to school, unless you're trying it's a choice, all right.
Well, it's always
a choice, you better take it.
It's always been that way with children in schools, though, because they have to have the mumps vaccine.
But
they have to have
college
the measles
kids,
vaccine.
you really, so you can't go back to college unless you have the vaccines. That's not a choice.
No, it's not a choice. I agree. It's
They keep
it's mandatory.
calling things choices that aren't. What's the choice? You don't get to finish school, so there is no choice.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah.
The only option is drop
Because
out
I
of
was
school.
yelling at Ron Verb in my car because he was yelling at another guy saying, "Oh, stop it. They're giving you the choice." And I'm going, "Is that the choice? You can't go back to school." When I'm in my car, I wish I could be heard in the car. I have some really good, funny stuff. A lot of it is just shut up, I say. Like, just shut up.
Isn't it funny how sometimes you'll be at home and you think of something brilliant and then you try to communicate it and it just doesn't come out right.
That's right.
But but Facebook has its good things too. Like for instance, I think sometimes even though I'm a very political guy, you're a very political guy, so probably 99% of your posts are politics. Probably about 60% of mine are political. And probably no one cares about my politics, but sometimes it's just cathartic for me just to get it out.
Just to get it
it's
off.
in my
That's a
head.
thought.
I just want to get it out. And, sometimes it makes people think, right?
It does. A lot of yours, I've actually, and look, I'm
And
not,
vice versa.
I am not trying to be right about, that's not the point. The point isn't, I'm going to be right. I just want you to give me something that makes me think about my position that possibly we could come to some kind of common ground.
Exactly.
And if I can't get past that,
Right.
there's nothing to talk about. Look, if you can't give me certain things, there's no way I'm going to have a conversation about something when you can't even give me that Hillary was a, come on. If you can't give me the easy stuff, then how are we going to get any further on the stuff where I really don't know what the angle is? Maybe we have an idea, but it always can't come from CNN and, John Kerry and the same old swampers because, they're not for America. They're for themselves. And every single person in there is a millionaire. Big time millionaires. So what do they know about us? Nothing. So it's funny because we could sit here, and I think in the future, we're going to sit here and do a lot of different things because, I wasn't sure what you were allowed to do being, your position.
Sure. Well, I have to be careful what I say.
I can get really out and, way out there.
When you make your living trying to help people, you have to be very careful what you say sometimes. Because not that you mean
Well, you
to
were a
say
defense
something mean.
attorney too, weren't you?
I was a public defender probably
How?
for the first 18 months of my
How
career.
does that? And I know your character.
Sure.
I mean, I really know your integrity and
Well,
character.
I appreciate that.
Defending somebody that you know is guilty, how do you even do that?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And to be honest, I always put myself and said, listen, the Constitution was written by pretty brilliant men, right? We both would agree on that. They said that there was a presumption of innocence and that the government must prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So I always looked at my job when I was doing a public defender is just make the government prove their case. All I'm doing is trying to, the government has said that my client has done something, right? Let the government prove the case against my client to the standard of care and, to the requisite standard. So if I'm being honest in my defense and I'm bringing up the things that I think show that, well, maybe the government got this wrong or maybe the government got this wrong, I don't consider that to be unethical. In fact, I look at it as defending the Constitution. Right. So whether it's a prosecutor or a defense attorney, I think they both have a constitutional job that the framers absolutely intended to happen. They wanted there to be a battle. They wanted there to be a battle between the government and the defense attorney, and that battle is not only what they wanted, it's what they specifically put down in paper. That's why you have a right to an attorney. That's why you have a right to, and not only an attorney, you have a right to adequate representation. So the representation has to be good.
Right there is it.
Yes.
Now, if somebody, I'm a conservative.
Sure.
I'm not buying that everybody gets the fair shot. I'm not buying that story at all.
No, it's impossible for everybody to get a fair trial. Like for instance,
It shouldn't be. Look. If this is a DUI,
yeah,
and DUI, here's the parameters around a DUI. But because you have a lot of money and you get this guy, your DUI turns into recklessness. This guy's DUI turns into ruining his life. That is not the way I believe it was supposed to be.
Yeah, like even back then, like even when John Adams was a lawyer himself, and he was obviously a lawyer of incredible quality, or John Quincy Adams, I mean. John Quincy. Like they're always going to be lawyers who are better at one thing as to another, and there are always going to be lawyers who are better at criminal defense than others. So yes, some people do get a better defense than other people get. I don't think there's any way to get around that.
Yeah, you're right.
Some people are going to get a better defense than other people. But in the end, I mean, we actually have courts of appeals that their only job. So when you ask me how you could defend somebody who you think is guilty, well, first of all, when I was a public defender, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, I thought they were all guilty. Okay. So I just assumed that they were guilty because the government was accusing them of guilt.
So you're then just going to give them the best chance they have of either not going to jail or getting the least amount of.
And the reason I would assume they were guilty is because I found from personally, assuming the guilt made me better at trying to prove they weren't guilty.
Yeah.
Like if I assumed they were innocent, I kind of think, at least in my mind, when I was defending somebody, if I thought they were innocent, it was much harder to defend them than if I assumed they were guilty. And I don't know why, but the way my mind works, I work from the opposite.
Well, maybe it's the pressure that if he is innocent,
exactly,
that puts a whole lot more pressure on you.
It does. So you just assume they did it and then defend them as if they didn't. And that just seemed to work for me.
Yeah, the other way, you're just going to do the best you can at getting them a shot at not too much time or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you know somebody, if I know, gosh, this guy's innocent, and if I blow it, that puts a little bit more pressure.
I will tell you, people are found not guilty a lot more than you hear on TV. I think it's a lot more common than people think it is. There are some really good defense lawyers, especially locally in these areas, Mahoning and Trumbull County. Incredible criminal defense lawyers. A lot of them are my friends. I think they put on some of the best defenses that anybody could possibly have. And I think, at least around here, people do get a fair shake.
But I think what's wrong is if you've got somebody that spent their entire life doing good, nothing but, in the community, they make a mistake, they shouldn't be judged on their worst day. And we do that a lot around here, though.
Politically, we do.
Right.
Yeah. I would agree with you that we do politically. But, as far as criminal cases go, I actually believe that judges, when they sentence people, they don't judge them by their worst day. Now, there are some crimes. I mean, how do you get out of murdering somebody? Right?
No.
I don't care if it's really not a good excuse for that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that I know a lot of people have not a lot of confidence in the legal system, but I've been in it for 25 years, and I really believe that,
I just think, sometimes
it's
people
the
get shuffled in and out. They're out in the hallway laughing while, this guy's life is going down because they've been around it so much, just like a doctor or whatever.
Sure.
And then they get in that system wheel and they can't seem to get out. And then you wonder why they keep going back to crime. I mean, at some point, you got to give them how are they supposed to get a job if you're sitting on top of them so they can't get a job? I mean, some of it, unless you've hurt somebody or, done something over and over again, I mean, you got to let the people make their mistake, do their little thing, and get them back out there and productive.
Yeah, back in the day when I was a prosecutor, where I saw that the most frustration is people would get their license suspended for whatever reason, and then with all of the state fines and all of the things they had to do to get their license back, the guy that makes $10 an hour had to come up with $4,000 to get his driver's license back. It's never going to happen. And then he keeps getting arrested because he's driving without a license.
To drive.
Yeah.
How's he going to get to work?
They have fixed that. And in fact, I think the Youngstown court,
Wasn't there something lately that Trump put through or something?
I don't know if it was Trump, but I would tell you that they actually have a special court where people can go through and get their licenses back, get back on their feet. So the one thing that as I saw as a prosecutor, the most frustrating thing was people who couldn't get their licenses back. Because if you don't have a license,
What are you going to do?
who's going to give you a job? How are you going to get to work?
No, you're not.
Right. So
Then they run them right back through the system, and now they're another fine for their probation, and then that whole thing just keeps going again.
And then not only that, but the bureau, what do you call it? Where you get your license.
Yeah.
They have their own costs. So you have the court fines.
Yeah, you
then
have that.
have all the
You have all
reinstatement
that.
fees and all that. But they've come a long way on that, and I think they figured out. The good thing about what I think is the United States system is they figure out where they make the mistakes and they try to correct it. And I know that the Youngstown Municipal Court has a driver's license program. People have their license suspended, and they can kind of come through it and try to get their license back. So we have veterans courts now. We have drug courts now. So I think rather than just think about punishing people all the time, I think that we're starting to learn that, maybe we got to give people a second chance.
I will leave you with this. I got pulled over in Sharon, Pennsylvania. I could throw a rock and hit my house in Ohio. Guy tells me I didn't stop at a stop sign. I said, I know I stopped at the stop sign. No, you didn't. Okay. You got license and registration? Yeah, I can't find it. How about insurance? I go, yeah, I have insurance. Well, I need to see it, so I'm looking for it. And I'm getting mad. I'm getting really irritated because if I didn't stop, it was a half a second. Come on, guys. He went around 3 cars to pull me over. So finally he comes back. Did you get it yet? I go, are you seriously? This has been 20 minutes. He goes, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to waive the moving violation. I'm not going to do anything with didn't have your insurance ready, but I am going to give you a ticket. Your registration is past due. I said, well, you should know that Ohio has till July 1st. So I don't have that issue. I don't know anything about that. I go, how do you not know about the laws of your neighbor? So now we are I had to go down there, right on I have to go to some court date just so I could come in with the Ohio law that you should already know. I can't even wait to go to that. I can't even wait. So now you're going to waste taxpayer your time, his time, everybody's time. When I just showed you, it says I don't have to have my registration till July.
Yeah.
There's what's wrong, I think, with the system. I think the system is so red tape bogged down that, the guy already wrote the ticket, so we have to go through all this. Come on, you made a mistake. Rip the ticket up and go home. I shouldn't have to travel down to the courthouse now 3 times for your mistake. By the time I get out of there, I'm going to be in the gas chamber, I think, when I do finally go. But listen, it was just a pleasure to have you. I want to have you again down the road. We'll probably use a different name. Maybe get you a little disguise.
Give me a mustache.
Really,
in a wig.
so we can really go at it. We'll do that over the phone anyway.
Yeah,
Or maybe I should tape one of those calls.
No, please don't.
That would be good.
We both never work again.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
I had a ball. And where are you going from here?
I'm actually going home. My wife made a pizza for us, to be honest with you.
Oh, good. Really?
It's a weird story. We for our first date, we had pizza. The other day was my 23rd wedding anniversary, so she's determined that we eat pizza again.
Well, I mean, who's homemade pizza?
I'm not sure if she's going to make it or order it, but that was her thing. So
that's good. All right, Michael.
All right, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't have any equipment
Thank you
to
for
carry
listening
out,
to
so I
this
can't
show
make
on
jokes
Youngstown
about it. You better-
Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content, and we would appreciate you sharing the videos and the word about it.